everybody, welcome to Go Bold. I'm here on HMCS Ottawa with Sailor First Class Corey Moore. Corey, thanks for joining me today.
No problem, happy to be here.
Yeah, it's awesome. So tell me a little bit about one of your functions on board HMCS Ottawa.
So on board, I'm a naval communicator by trade. I deal with the communications and everything like that we do on board. With secondary duty, I'm a Naval Boarding Party member. So we do marine interdictions overseas for trafficking goods, human trafficking, or anything like that to ensure that we can stop the flow of goods to illicit countries or illicit organizations.
Right. So we had the opportunity to visit the Naval Tactical Operations Group, and those guys are instrumental in helping the naval boarding parties train in their facilities.
Absolutely, yes. Before, we used to be a bosuns that taught our course. Now it is switched to our Naval Tactical Operations Group instructing the courses, which has brought a lot more skill set into what we're doing, just a lot more skill set, a lot more information, and further the naval boarding party's abilities when we are deployed.
Right. And so here we are on board HMCS Ottawa. So in terms of the naval boarding party that you're part of on this ship, I believe there's typically at least one team, but usually two if you can have them, 10-man teams. And so when you get the call from, I guess, your command team to say, hey, you need to go board another ship, you have to go through that training, and you have to have some of the equipment to do that. And so on board there's the rigid hull inflatable boats, so that's how you get from this ship, I believe, to the other ship. And then you've got some of your protective gear that you'd have. I know you don't have all of it on you right now, but tell me a little bit about that, because it sounds like it's kind of a really cool part of being a sailor.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of I like to say it's the coolest secondary duty that we can have on board. Protective equipment wise, we'll carry these tack vests on us. Inside we'll have bulletproof vests, or bulletproof plates, front and back. Okay. As well, 2 mag wells for our C8s, 2 mag wells for our 9mm, single point harness for our C8, holster for our sidearm, our SIG Sauer 9mm.
Okay.
We like to have our Camelback with us, get dehydrated over there.
Of course.
We also have it's called a hammerhead. It's almost like a life jacket for us.
Okay.
It's really compact, keeps on our shoulders, hooks into our harness that we wear for our climbing operations or anything like that. And what's cool about that piece of kit is if we do hit the water on exfil, on entry onto the other boat, it'll automatically inflate and keep us floating, and it ties in straight to our legs so that it can hold us up entirety with the 60 pounds of kit that we also wear.
Wow, cool. So have you deployed as part of a boarding team thus far, or is this coming deployment going to be your first opportunity on the naval boarding team?
This coming deployment is going to be my first opportunity on the naval boarding party team, which I'm really looking forward to.
Great.
See how that goes, and everything that we get to do when we're forward deployed.
Yeah, and one of the things that we got to see was some of the first aid training that you guys do, which is pretty significant, because it's very serious business. People could get hurt, could get injured, and so you have to have that first aid, I guess, that kind of a combat first aid capability.
Yeah, and combat first aid, it's a very, very overreaching for first aid as we get taught. So all members on board the ship are taught standard first aid, CPR, and everything like that we need to just deal with minor injuries. For us, when we're going to other ships, obviously there's that inherent risk of anything can happen once we get onto that boat. So we like to have a little bit of a higher train. So we learn tourniquets, we learn wound packing. Me, myself, I've taken it further and I've gone to the medical first responder level, which just gives me a bit more of a scope of medical first aid that I can provide to my teammates in case anything does happen while we're on another ship.
Right on. So now that you're, in a few months, you guys will be sailing away on a long deployment. what are you looking forward to most? And have you done a deployment before, or is this going to be your first big one?
This will be my second deployment to the same area that we were going on this deployment. Looking forward to just being over there, doing our job, and being that pointy end of the spear for the Canadian government, and anything that happens beyond that is just a bonus for us almost.
Right on. Corey, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. It's been awesome. I wish you all the best of luck on your cruise, and safe journey.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Today we're coming to you from Canadian Forces Base Esquimalt in the work point area of the base, and I'm joined by Lieutenant Matt Hallock, who is with the Naval Tactical Operations Group. Matt, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for being here.
It's great to be in your backyard. Tell me a little bit about your career, Matt. How did you get to the position you are, and a little bit about the NTOG group?
Absolutely. So I'm Matthew Hallock, as you said, originally from Winnipeg, Manitoba. So I went to school there, University of Manitoba, and then upon finishing school, I enrolled in the Canadian Armed Forces in 2017. I've been in for about 5.5 years now. So basically, once I completed my basic training, I went over, I think, just over there to Work Point to conduct my training as a naval warfare officer. Upon completion of that training, I was deployed with HMCS Calgary, and then after that deployment, I was able to join the Naval Tactical Operations Group, where I currently serve as the training officer.
Awesome. So you're the training officer here at NTOG, and for those people that aren't familiar with what NTOG is, how would you describe it?
So NTOG, or the Naval Tactical Operations Group, is a unit that specializes in maritime interdiction operations for the Royal Canadian Navy. So we strive to be the SMEs and the Center of Excellence for anything to do with boarding operations, force protection, anything like that, and provide that capability to the Royal Canadian Navy.
So I guess a good analogy would be like a police officer and perhaps a SWAT team member in the police. So they're more specialized in some of the specific tasks that they may be called upon to do. Is that a fair kind of assessment of what NTOG would be compared to a sailor, a typical sailor?
Yeah, I suppose you could say that. We do have a lot more specialized training to help keep ourselves safe whenever we're doing the job, because for the Royal Canadian Navy, any of those capabilities that we need to complete the mission, they're all about that specialized training that reduces the risk to anybody who could be, hurt, damage to property, damage to equipment on operation. So the members at NTOG are specially trained to reduce that risk, to be able to successfully carry out those missions and operations on behalf of the RCN.
Awesome. And so for those that also don't know, what does a boarding party typically do?
So for the Royal Canadian Navy, on each ship, or our Halifax class frigates, we'll have a naval boarding party. So this is slightly different than NTOG, the unit I work with, though we do deliver the training for them. So that boarding party on the ship, they're responsible for handling those maritime interdiction operations, or just boardings that arise for that ship's needs. So the expectation is those members of the naval boarding party are going to be ready to take on tasks such as boarding a compliant vessel, to confirm its flag state, check for smuggling, any of those kind of needs that may arise as the RCN carries out operations. All those members of the naval boarding party on ship, they'll still have their primary job on ship, and the boarding party will be a secondary duty, and that they will have received specialized training for through the naval boarding party courses that we run here.
Okay, awesome. Let's talk a little bit about the structure of NTOG, and then which is that specialized unit, and then we can talk specifically about training some of the ship's crews for the specialized skills that you guys have.
Absolutely. So NTOG itself is headquartered here in Victoria, BC, just up, and basically we run the training for the Naval Boarding Party. We also have our deployable teams that we'll put on ship or on operation for any specialized either capacity building engagements where we go teach other nations' forces about boardings and some of those tactics and procedures, as well as delivering our own training here to the Naval Boarding Party. So we have our headquarters, which we call Neptune.
Yeah, let's take a look at it.
So we have our headquarters with Neptune, and that's kind of where we run all those day-to-day, office jobs, and as well organize the training and all our deployments and that kind of stuff. So here, the second badge you see, so that's our Maritime Tactical Operator badge. So upon completion of the Maritime Tactical Operator course, the successful candidates are awarded that badge and they become badge members or MTOs. So these 4 badges here, they represent 4 different call signs for our teams. So when we deploy a team on operation or on ship, they'll go under one of these names. So we have Mako, Tiger, Thresher, and Reef. And then while on ship, that will be their call sign. So it's a good way of designating the personnel on the team without specifically using names which may be required for operations. So for example, myself, I'm also on the Tiger team, so I would be Tiger 22, just as my call sign so I can be quickly referenced. And then this last badge you see here, that's our Maritime Tactical Coxswain, boat coxswain badge. So maritime interdiction operations and boardings, they place a high demand on the ability to successfully position and maintain position with that rig or that boat that you're using to board the vessel. Now, the bosun trade in the RCN receives boat training, and they're very capable boat drivers. However, due to the demands and those risks of some of those MIO operations, we came up with a course and have been training our own specific boat drivers for the demands and needs of maritime interdiction operations. So once they complete that course, they become those badge boat drivers, and they're able to help us out and give us a ride to work, basically.
Awesome. And some of the imagery here that we're seeing is from some of the operations that you guys have done at NTOG.
Yes, absolutely. I don't have dates for all of them. This one, though, I'm pretty sure is just from Op Artemis. That actually might be the 2021 Op Artemis in the Gulf of Oman, where we were very successful. This was on board HMCS Calgary. Managed to break a few records in terms of drug seizures and making great contribution to Canada's commitment to combating contraband and smuggling in that area.
Very cool stuff. And I'm looking forward to seeing how you guys do some of your training here.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you, Matt. No problem. So Matt, here we are inside the NTOG training facility, and you're going to walk us through some of the areas where you do some of the training.
Absolutely. So here at the Naval Boarding Party cell, where we deliver that Naval Boarding Party training, we have a number of resources for that. One of the biggest ones here is our actual Naval Boarding Party trainer. So this space here is basically a collection of sea cans that have been altered in order to present a mock-up of an actual vessel so that our teams can practice properly, effectively, and safely boarding a vessel without having to tie up the resources at sea, and that way we can kind of learn and build that capability. Do you want to take a look inside?
I would love to take a look inside. What you're doing. Matt, tell me a little bit about the Halifax class crews and the folks that you guys train from the ships in your group, because you guys are the specialists.
Absolutely. So we deliver the training for the naval boarding parties on board the Halifax class ships. So the boarding parties on those ships are made up of sailors who already have their primary duty, which is their job on the ship, whether it's bosun or NCI op or what have you. And then as a secondary duty, they'll be members of the naval boarding party team, providing the ship with the capability of conducting any of those boardings or MIO operations they may need to do. So in order to become a member of that team on ship, they'll receive the specialized training in the Naval Boarding Party basic course here. That's the course we deliver, as well as if they're an officer in a leadership position on that team, they'll receive the Naval Boarding Party supervisor course, teaching them how to lead that and run that team. And then once they complete the courses, they'll head back to the ship and take that skill set to the ship.
Awesome. And so I believe that there's a couple of different groups on board the ship, right? Once they're trained up, there's like an alpha, if I remember correctly.
Absolutely. So The primary boarding team on the ship will be called the Alpha Wave. That'll be made up of 10 personnel. And then if they have enough qualified personnel, they'll build what's called a Bravo Wave. That's a second wave of 10 personnel. So that way they have those additional personnel to help with a larger vessel or help expedite a search or anything they might be doing.
Right, okay. Show me, I guess, if you don't mind, some of the tools that you guys use to do some of the training for either the ship's boarding party or even for your NTOG group.
Absolutely. So with some of our training aids that I can talk about, so we conduct a lot of work with teaching them how to effectively and safely handle personnel. So if somebody does need to be restrained in order for their safety and the safety of the team conducting boarding, we'll teach them how to safely do that. So one of the tools we use is training cuffs. So they're usually demarked by being red, and basically they act the same as our actual operational zip cuffs. So you can just pull to restrain somebody, but the nice thing about these cuffs, because they're training, they should just pull back out for reuse versus the real ones where you have to cut. Right. So they do a lot of work with practicing that skill. Just anytime they're going to be interacting with somebody in that nature, we want to make sure it's done properly and professionally.
Sure.
So we also have, you might see on the occasional Instagram post or stuff like that, our rubber rifles or our rubber guns, as you might call them. So these are used as a training aid because we do have strict safety precautions and controls around weapons and firearms in the armed forces. We use these just to aid with the speed of training and efficiency, because they can still practice all those movements when they're entering a space in order to clear it and secure it, using these sorts of rubber guns rather than having to use a full real rifle. Additionally, I don't know if you can quite see, but there's a fair amount of paint around the walls and stuff like that. That's because we use something called CS, or Close Engagement Ammunition Simulation System. And what that is that's basically a paint marking round we use with our weapons during training. And what that does is it offers the ability to have the ability to fire that weapon at a perceived threat, or be fired at and teach you to protect yourself. And it's just a paint marking round, so that way there's no injury due to that. So whenever we use that sort of thing, we'll use multiple pieces of protective equipment, such as this chest piece, and what that does is anybody who's acting as a role player or anybody who's being hit with that CS, it just protects them from getting any welts or anything like that from the marking round.
Sure.
And then as part of the training course, one of the big things is because they are boarding in a maritime environment, obviously there is always that risk that they end up in the water, and they're wearing a lot of gear. So we have specialized equipment that they'll train with, such as the hammerhead. So what this is basically a life preserver that inflates automatically once they hit the water, or manually, and that just helps protect our personnel whenever they're conducting these operations. So we train them on that so they can effectively employ them during MIO on ship.
Awesome. And in the background, we have a visual representation of somebody that, I guess these are just put into this trainer in random spots, and it's meant to be, I guess, a shoot, no shoot type of scenario.
Absolutely. So one of the biggest things with the training that we're delivering is we expect the highest standard from our sailors. So we want to make sure anytime they enter a situation where they might need to use their weapon, they're only using it when appropriate. So all throughout the training, we reinforce the fact that you have to look, you have to see what's around in your environment in that situation, and you have to make the right decision. So we focus a lot on that and making sure when it gets to the real operations, our personnel are going to make the right decision.
Great. Well, let's take a look at some of the classes that are currently training today.
Absolutely.
Great, thank you.
So combat first aid is one of the most important skills they learn on course, because whenever you have an injury in a tactical situation, obviously we want to get them to a medic and a doctor and all that higher medical care. However, that quick first intervention addressing a major loss of blood, any gunshot wounds, anything like that, that's going to be vital in making sure that person survives once they get to higher medical care. So we teach them to conduct those interventions to make sure they can help either members of their team if they're hurt, or anybody else they might come across while they're doing their operation.
And at the same time, they have to be tactically still aware.
And that's one of the big challenges, is we have to teach how to make those interventions and provide that care, but at the same time, they're still in a tactical environment. They still have to make sure they're in the fight and finish that fight before they start delivering that care, in order to make sure they themselves don't become a casualty. about to see is one of our training scenarios for the students on combat first aid. The expectation is for them to come in, secure the space, and then begin treating a casualty. They're going to be working through the skills that we've taught them. We expect them to make mistakes, which will be picked up by the staff evaluating and then corrected before their tests and before completion of the course. You're going to see them move through what we call the Marsh Sequence, or M-A-R-C-H-E. So this is the sequence we use to address a casualty in a tactical environment. So M for massive bleeds, they'll immediately look for any massive bleeds on the casualty and address interventions such as either wound packing or, more likely in this case, a tourniquet in order to stop that bleed. Once they've confirmed no other massive bleeds, they'll move on to A for airway, where they'll assess the casualty's airway and responsiveness. They'll then move to R, respiration, where they'll check the casualty's main body for any other gunshot wounds, shrapnel wounds, anything like that, using a raking technique in order to find those holes or injuries. They'll then move to send up a ATMIS or report and take a sec to take in the situational awareness, make sure their space is still secure, and breathe, see if there's any other casualties before carrying on with the rest of the Marsh sequence. They'll then move to C, circulation, where they'll check the pulse, as well as doing a long bone and pelvis check to see if there's any other breaks or any instability in the pelvis that may affect the casualty. Once that's complete, they'll move to H, which is head and hypothermia, where they'll apply a space blanket or some other warming intervention so we can head off the issue with hypothermia in the casualty, as well as checking the casualty's head to see if we see any skull abnormalities or indications of injury there. And then once they've completed that, they'll move to eyes and everything else, where they check the responsiveness and handle any other items that may be going on with the casualty. The main goal of the Marsh sequence is to apply those life-saving interventions first, get that bleeding or the respiration under control, and then move to get the casualty out and to higher medical care as soon as possible.
Center. Hold left, close right. Casualty. Over here.
So at this point, they've made their entry into the room.
Medic, stand up.
They have a casualty. However, you'll notice they're still holding their arms. They're still maintaining security, because that's one of the keys, is they want to make sure they're safe, even as they're going to start applying interventions for life-saving.
Men up, fellas, men up. He's grabbing onto me.
So he's going to start what's called his Marsh sequence. So M, massive bleed. So what he's doing is quickly he's identifying that first massive bleed. So for this scenario, out of that left leg, he's seeing a massive bleed. So he's applying a tourniquet to stop that bleed and make that intervention right away.
You'll be good, you'll be good. Keep talking to me.
My shoulder.
Time, 10:59.
So now what he's doing, he's stopped that one massive bleed he knew about. So now he's checking the neck, he's checking the arms, any of those areas you have those major arteries. He's looking for any other massive bleeds. The important thing is he's not getting distracted by anything else. He's going through his system, his Marsh sequence, and he's moving through. So he's now checked for any other massive bleeds. He's good to go. He moves on to A. So A is airway, so he's talking to him, and if he's talking back, you know, hey, that airway's good. So now he's moving to R. For respiration, what he's trying to do is first unbuckle the casualty's equipment, so basically get that vest, all that equipment out of the way. Because what he's going to need to do is do a rig check. So he's cutting away the clothing, exposing the chest, and then he's using his hands to rake over and feel if there's any holes from any shrapnel or gunshot wounds.
Shrapnel.
Boom, he finds it. Now he's going to apply that SAM seal. The reason we rake rather than just look is any maritime environment, it could be dark, it could be hard to see, there could be clothing that's tattered or any other blood. So by using those fingers, you're going to find that hole. So for exercise, he's applied that SAM seal. So basically that's just a seal that's going to go over the wound. He's checked the rest of the front and sides, and now he's checking the back.
Down. Jabs unconscious on you. Okay, stop. Situational awareness. Are there
So
any other
he's gone through his
casualties in this
M,
room?
A, and R of the Marsh sequence. So now we teach them how to stop. Check your situational awareness. Am I still safe? Is our space still secure? Are there any other casualties that I gotta worry about?
Keep talking to me.
And
You
then
still
once
here?
he's taken that breath, check those interventions he's made of the tourniquet and the SAM seal. Now he's back into his Marsh sequence. And he also notices at this point his casualties become unconscious, so right away he knows, okay, that's gonna change some of the stuff I've already done. Just checking, making sure they're still breathing, that airway is still functioning. And right now he's composing what's called an APNIST, or that's a report he's going to push up to Alpha 1 that's going to leave for command that details what they've got for casualty, what those injuries are, how they happen, what treatments have been applied, and then that's going to get forwarded to a medic and then further on medical care. So we're tracking what's going on with the casualty, and we can get ready to move. Because really our main key is apply those quick life-saving interventions and then get them off the ship to full medical care. So he's found now that first tourniquet he put on, he sees that bleed reopen while he's doing a quick check. He says, okay, I need another tourniquet, I've got to stop that bleed. Because that's the biggest danger of that casualty right now, is that bleed out from that massive bleed.
Bleeding stop. Stop. Time 10:03. I'm gonna restart after M. No blood. No blood.
And now you see, something changed. He took a sec, he did an intervention, so now he reworks that MAR, that start of that sequence again. Make sure there's nothing's changed.
Okay.
He checks that SAM seal on the chest, make sure he didn't miss anything on the
No
chest.
other casualties.
Takes another breath, confirms to himself nothing's changed in my situation. We haven't lost security, there's no other casualties, so now I can get back into my Marsh sequence.
Alpha 1, this is Alpha 1-0. Advance follow-up. Or over.
Where are you copying, sir?
Alpha 1, we have a 1 times priority 1. Fighting age male. Time 11:01. Para Mike. Gunfight wound. Injury Para India. Injury amputated limb on the left leg. Para Sierra. Sub-para Alpha. Unprotected airway. Sub-para Bravo. Breathing below 30. Below 8. Para Charlie. Rapid pulse. Para Delta. Unconscious. Para Tango. Apply 2 tourniquets on the left leg.
So what he's done with that APNIST report is he's sent up what he's got, so the priority of the casualty, the age of the casualty, the mechanism of injury, the actual injuries to the body, the basically signs or symptoms and some of the vitals, and then he'll put what treatment he's done. So I've applied the tourniquets to that left leg and work from there.
Rapid 130.
Rapid 130. Pulse. Hips.
Your hips are unstable.
Unstable.
So there.
Man up.
Now he's moved into the C, or the circulation of that Marsh sequence. So the first thing he did, he checked that pulse, he had a regular, and then he's going to conduct both a pelvis and a long bone check. So the pelvis check, you just check for any instability in the pelvis, because you're concerned if, due to that
major injury to the lower leg. If any of that impact caused any issues with the pelvis, you basically have a bowl there, so you can lose a lot of blood. So you just want to make sure it's stable. If it's unstable, you want to, or unstable rather, you want to use what's called a pelvic binder. So you're going to apply that to help keep it stable and keep the casualty safe during any movements and just prevent any further injury.
Slide his legs together at the top.
Yep.
And they're tying his legs together, and that's just again to keep him stable and prevent movement to that unstable pelvis.
Okay, I'm gonna check long bones.
So now he's going to the long bone check. He's going to check the arms and the legs to make sure there's no major breaks there that could be affecting that circulation.
Head. No irregularities. Blood. Hypothermia. Skin.
Now
is
he's
not
on the
planting.
H and hypothermia.
No blue lips.
He's checking to make sure there's no issues with hypothermia. If there are,
E.
in a full scenario, he might put on a basically we call it a space blanket. It's a silver blanket to prevent that body heat from being
Patient's
lost,
getting cold.
because that's a real concern with casualties is the onset of hypothermia.
I'm applying a blanket on top of him. Okay. I'm gonna put his kit back on.
So he's heard that the SCED is here, so they're going to prep the casualty back for transport. So one of the big things is you want to make sure that casualty's equipment's all back with them. So you don't want to be leaving any of that gear behind. You want to make sure it's all good to go. So as they're unpacking the SCED, they're checking, making sure all your treatments are still good, getting that blanket on, and getting them ready to go. The SCED is basically just a casualty transportation device, so it rolls out kind of like what you'd see with a stretcher, except it's plastic and it rolls up, and it allows you to move the casualty while not having to carry an entire big stretcher with you through the ship.
Alpha 1 is 1-0. Update on the atomist. Casualty went unconscious, and I'm requesting evac.
So now he's updating command about what's going on with the casualty. He's making sure he requests that evac so they can get him off the vessel up to higher medical care.
Okay, we're gonna need another man. Never mind, cancel that.
So as they're strapping him in, we're getting close to the close of the scenario where they've moved the casualty out of the space. Again, just make sure all that equipment comes with them. And then once we've completed this training scenario, our medics who are on site evaluating are going to give them the debrief points. So this could be if they missed a treatment or an intervention, or anything that just needs to be cleaned up, as well as anything such as like the placement of the casualty in the tactical sense, where it is in relation to doors and that kind of stuff. And from there, you pretty much correct any issues or any mistakes with the student, and then eventually they'll be running their tests and we'll see them equipped with this new capability and the confidence to carry out these interventions in the real world.
Ready, keep going.
All right, so layout of your range. These two 4x4s here signify your brow, gangway to shore. Everything on that end of it is land. There is a berthing houser tying up our ship. Back here, you have a rigged and charged fire hose. If you should choose to use it, pick it up and yell on water. The actor will respond and react as though he's just taking a blast in the face. And then say off water when you're done. We're not actually going to hose them down. There's also a podium for the quartermaster, which is just our fancy blue garbage can. That is basically the land. You'll enter from this door, and either myself or the RSO will bring you to the load for your weapons. No knives, no spikes, no anything sharp of any kind on the range. The only knife on the range. And yes, I know my artistic skills suck, but we don't have rubber knives, so this is the only knife that will be on the range. It is made of cardboard. It will not hurt you. For your notional situational awareness, you have a notional bosun mate. You want a pipe mate? Just yell bosun mate. Make the pipe for security alert. Whatever. You will not ready your weapons. They'll only be at the load. Chief, anything you care to add?
Wait, does everybody understand why we're up here? Everybody who doesn't understand why you're up here, what the intent of this entire evolution is for. Yes? Everybody understands exactly why they're going to be up here?
Because this summer we are going on a deployment in areas where we may not know what to expect, therefore we need to be ready for anything.
That is a better answer. Can we get a more specific one?
We're practicing the use of force and the escalation of that force.
Okay, so in keeping with what the captain said when he gave us all his use of force brief, this is the practical application and the practical practice for that. So this is not a joke. This is not a shoot somebody with freaking paintballs. This is not a come out here and light some guy up just for the sake of lighting him up. We've given you every tool that is available to you on a normal daily basis. The assessment that each of you is getting is whether you do the right things at the right time. Does that make sense?
Yes, Chief.
Okay?
Yes, Chief.
If you don't, it will be noted, and we'll try it again. So if you really enjoy this training, just screw up something small and you can do it all over again. Okay? But the point of this is to walk you through the use of force and get you to do it. Because one of the big things is we find that people have never done this. People have never pulled out a 6-hour and aimed at another person. Who here's ever done it? Real or otherwise? Yeah. Okay? So one of the things we want to overcome is the idea of actually physically aiming a real weapon at a real person. Very few people in here have ever pulled a trigger and put something at the other person. I'm not going to ask who's done it, because I don't really want to know. So these are the things I want you to focus on, as well as all of the use of force pieces. So if you don't need to pull your gun and shoot them, don't. Because that's not what you're going to do when we're sitting anywhere. If he's just standing there being a jackass and yelling and screaming at you, you're not going to shoot him. Okay? So this is not a just shoot him scenario. Make your decisions, use your use of force, and whatever you do, don't stop talking and don't stop giving direction. Everybody understands that? Good.
Good morning, I'm Lieutenant Barr, the deck officer on board HMCS Ottawa. This morning we're running our force protection scenario evolution, in which we run through the entire ship's company in various force protection scenarios to defend the ship. So right now we're using our CIAS rounds, which are paint rounds, in the weapons, and members of the ship company get geared up in their protective gear, go in and stand whatever duty that they would be standing, and react to various force protection scenarios. So in the background here we got a member of the ship's company getting ready, getting geared up, and about to enter the range for their paint scenarios. Right now he's just putting on the holster for his pistol. You can see on the vest, the pink on the vest, that's the former bullet marks. So that indicates if you're hit or not. We haven't cleaned that vest in a while, looks like. It's riddled with paint bullets there.
It's getting good use.
Yeah, absolutely. Good training.
Yeah.
Okay. So got the holster ready to go. Just gonna clear the pistol, make sure there's no rounds in it before he takes possession of it.
Lieutenant Chorley requested Brown.
Holster his pistol. Clear. Do the same thing for the rifle, make sure there's no rounds inside before taking possession of the weapon. And he's just waiting to enter the range.
Awesome. And so, what is this training meant to replicate, or what exactly is the objective here?
The objective here is to train personnel on force protection scenarios. So if we're standing watch in a foreign port, for example, we have to defend ourselves. We hope we don't have to use force, but it may be necessary. So that's why we're training the rules of engagement into our sailors.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Enter out of bounds. Weapons firing in progress.
Ready to stand by, and then
So at that point, yeah, no, you don't necessarily want to have escalate to that, but then the only thing you've committed. Now you gotta shoot him or he's not gonna take you seriously, but you're not allowed to shoot him if he wants to do. Yeah. Okay. So we'll get you unload and we'll move on to the next person. Alright, roll on one. Oh, Canadian Warship, beautiful. Oh. Hello, how are you? I'm just walking by. We're a great day. I thought we were over here for years ago.
Can you bring it down?
Don't. But I hope you'll put the bag down. This is what I want to show you. I thought it was pretty cool. Whoa. What are you doing? Put it. Yeah. Don't use it. Oh, shit. I'm sorry. I want that enough. Sorry.